Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. So with the talk of Torbjorn getting a minor buff here or there, I thought it was a good opportunity to sit down with a long-time friend of the channel, Desrow, to talk about what decent ideas he's heard of and what he recommends with sort of balancing this hero. Before we get started, do let us know your ideas on how to buff or balance Torbjorn in the comments below, and let's get straight into it. So, introductions. It's been a while since we last did a video together. It was the Master Torbjorn guide way back when, and a video I think on like good Torbjorn turret spots. But today the attention is very much focused on the balance of this hero. He might be able to get buffs and changes down the line. First of all, why should people listen to you when it comes to this hero? Why? How much time have you spent playing this hero, and like what rank have you been all this time?
I never managed to get top 500, so I guess you could say there might be better people that are better qualified than me. But I played around 600 hours, and I would say I'm like one of the 2 or 3 top Torbjorn streamer on Twitch. So people always come at me either on my YouTube or on my Twitch with like crazy ideas on what they think needs to be changed. For a while, I didn't think Torbjorn needed a buff, but with a recent Junkrat, life has been pretty difficult for Torbjorn lovers.
Right, and I guess that kind of raises the first question that we should really start with. In your eyes, what is Torbjorn's biggest fault? What is really catching him out? Both at the moment with the meta stuff that you've described, which no doubt you'll explain a little bit more, but other stuff down the line as well. Where is Torbjorn's biggest weakness that he kind of needs changes to?
Well, one thing Jeff Kaplan said is that he wants Torbjorn to feel like more accepted by the community, and there's a few ways you can go about that. If you can make him more competitive in the spam meta, so you could reduce the amount of ammo it takes to right click from 2 to 3, giving you 6 shots instead of 5. You can increase his mobility. One idea that I've seen around is when someone picks up an armor pack, it gives you like a 1-second movement speed boost to Torbjorn. So that'd be pretty cool, you know, for him to be able to get up close. But it's either like, if we're talking attack, because I know like when we covered Torbjorn, me and you, we didn't really talk about attack, but that's the biggest thing on attack, is surviving being spammed down the choke by an Orisa Junkrat, or being able to like outrun flankers and like, you know, like Diva Winston diving onto you. So you can maybe help both, or maybe you can only help one. But right now, like in those two situations, he's pretty bad. And even versus quad tank, his shotgun is too weak to be helpful. So
right, and I guess now is a good opportunity to go over some of the better ideas that you've heard, even if they are like small quality of life changes. Blizzard really want to make him a bit more adaptable for certain situations, even though they've kind of accepted that he's going to be somewhat niche a lot of the time, which is fair enough really. But in your eyes, what kind of changes have you heard, have you considered yourself, that would be the top of your list when it comes to balancing this hero?
I actually messaged Jeff Goodman like last year, and I was like, why can't Torb be like Soldier and get full ammo when he pops Molten Core? And then that, you know, that didn't go so well for me. But that would be a huge thing, but it's not enough. His head being reduced would be a good thing, just like Rodog did, but that would not be enough. What's the other one? Make the right click spread a lot sharper, making it less spread, so it's does more damage in a more condensed area. That would help against quad tank. That, and reducing the ammo of right click to 2 instead of 3, that would make him a viable counter to quad tank. So those are like pretty reasonable, like we're still on Earth kind of ideas. I think being able to upgrade a turret, even if it's not full HP, should be a thing. Like, just double the HP, you know? Like, if my HP has my turret has like 10 HP and it gets to level 2, give it 20 HP. But why does it need to be 150 HP so that I can start upgrading it? Because a Diva from a mile away can do one damage per second, and I can't upgrade my turret. Like, how silly is that?
Yeah, I spoke to Fitzy about this. It's a similar thing for like hacking with Sombra, where you even take like a micro bit of damage and it's enough to sort of put you off trying to do what you want to do, and that's the thing I think a lot of Sombra players want to see changed or reverted. So what kind of role does Torbjorn or what role should Torbjorn fill within a team? Like, is it to sort of counter quad tank? Is it to be problematic in a defense sense? Like, to you, how would you describe Torbjorn's role within the game, or how it should be in your eyes?
Well, I kind of like the role that he has right now, but you're always going to have those people, like me, like I used to be, that are just going to want to play him every time. And he's just not well-rounded. He's like, we can try Torbjorn on the first push, and then let's say they have too many counters, then they'll have to swap. So, like, he's weak versus Pharah, he's weak versus Diva, he's weak versus Spam, he's weak versus even Quad Tank. So, it really depends on, like, right now, if you got a strong Spam comp, he can do really well. Like, that's where you, like, everyone starts having armor pack, and you get your Molten Car pretty quickly, and he can deal with flankers as long as, a lot of the team is alive, and he can make sure his third level 2 is up, then he can deal with flankers pretty well. That's when he's, like, good. That's when he's holding his ground. But the moment it starts spiraling out of control, he's not well-rounded enough. So sometimes he's a bit weak versus tanks. Like, the mid-range right-click is really, really disappointing. It almost makes me think of Fortnite. I don't know if you've played a little bit of Fortnite. Sometimes the shotgun, you get, like, an insane shot, but sometimes it's, like, 4 damage, and you're like, what happened?
Well, that's something that they've fixed about Doomfist recently as well, is just making the spread a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
To make it much more consistent. And with Sombra as well, so no doubt that might be something that seems likely for Torbjorn. But yeah, so far we've had some really sensible ideas, but I really want to hear some of the crazy stuff that you've heard, like the amount of ridiculous abilities, because I imagine there'll be loads surrounding Torbjorn and the way that he plays.
Well, I mean, the most famous one right now is letting him wall climb. Obviously, I don't know too much about that. I mean, they're saying they want to give a dash to Hanzo, so you never really know.
I would love a disengage for Torbjorn. I'd love him to just jump like 12 feet into the air.
Well, that's where I think giving him like a 1 second speed boost on when you pick up an armor pack, because sometimes that's what you'll do is you have like 150 armor pack, and then you go really deep into enemy lines, and then you can like wiggle your way out of there. That'd be great.
I can imagine it like a sort of little jetpack thing, almost like a sort of burst of speed forward or backwards. Like it's not like a big dash, but something that can sort of in the same range of like a McCree roll, where it just can throw you in the direction you want to go, but a little bit. But I guess one of the big issues about Torbjorn is, like, one of the big abilities that I was really hyped around that I liked is the idea that you can paint targets for your turret to try and shoot at. And I really want to talk about the turret itself, because I think a lot of people have a problem with how individual and how lone wolf the turret can kind of go, because you have zero control over it. You see a soldier on the high ground, you'd press E or whatever the button would be, and the turret would instantly focus on them until they went out of line of sight for a few seconds. The issue there is Torbjorn has a shift ability, he has a right and a left click, he has his E ability, he has lots of stuff to keep track of, and very similar to Symmetra, you don't want to add too much, right?
It's true. It would be really nice if you could pick targets, but I think one of my concerns is you can't give Torb too much love without taking some love away at the same time. And if we want Torb to be more well-rounded, I think maybe the turret might need a nerf, or you can't give it like any buff. If you want, like, because Torbjorn himself, like the shotgun and the left click, it's like you got like almost like a Hanzo projectile, and then you got like a Reaper Roadhog shotgun. So do you keep the turret really plain, just like a little added damage, or do you make Torbjorn stay the same, but then you buff the turret? So it's a tricky situation the Blizzard's in. I think the speed boost, again, that was probably the craziest thing I've heard. And then giving him more HP at the start. They said they didn't want to do a rework, so they're not like throwing everything away, but they do want to improve his condition and make him more well-rounded for the community to be able to work with him when people are crazy enough to pick him on attack, which is so hard right now.
I guess they probably want to make him on the same line as Mei. It's just a little bit tanky, a little bit more robust. But the kind of thing is, when you have a turret like he has, you kind of balance him for two almost.
Yeah, that's really the tricky part. And it's also about balancing the lower leagues, you know, people don't really shoot the turrets in lower leagues. It's really hard. that they find it very overwhelming. I mean, even in the higher leagues, like when I'll pick Torbjorn and Grandmaster, I end up with players that like there will be a Genji throwing shurikens for like 30 seconds to my turret. That guy's not doing anything while trying to take my turret down, so
I think the turret's like fine in itself, like it poses enough of a threat that you can't just leave it alone. I think the issue is, like, they always try and want to take Torbjorn away from the turret that they play as two separate entities. I remember that being the main focus of the closed beta when they changed up a lot of his stuff as well, because you don't want to just have a Torbjorn sat by his turret all of the time.
oh, that's another buff, I guess. Make part of the turret HP armor. I mean, it's a turret, for crying out loud. Like, how come it doesn't have armor? It's wide HP all the way through.
I think there's an element that's sort of like, of course we're just riffing ideas here, but I do feel that there is an element of trying to take the TF2 engineer away from Torbjorn. Instead of having to build up a turret, just having it so it's almost level 2 straight away, you kind of eliminate the whole hammering it to build it up, but maybe just increasing the cooldown on using it. So you put it down, it's ready straight away, but if the cooldown starts once it gets killed.
Ooh.
And then it just sort of enables it that you just put it down. You have to be clever with where you put it, but you're not sat trying to rebuild it or upgrade it or whatever, that you put it down and you leave it alone. Actually, a good amount of it would be putting it down and keeping well away from it, so you take the attention away from the turret, as that's just going to be in the background. Maybe not so the cooldown stats, but like increasing the cooldown so Torbjorn can't just keep throwing it down again and again. Just to get rid of the build-up time, because I think a lot of the time that's kind of not useful. But then again, if in situations where he's trying to build the turret and you're constantly shutting him down, that's where, you know, you're trying to get on top of Torbjorn, and that's where you should be countering him. You can't let him set up.
I think you have a really strong idea here, because the biggest thing, especially on King of the Hill, when I've played a lot of Torbjorn, is people get so upset because I will not upgrade my turret level 2 until we win the first fight. So I'll put down a level 1, I'll pull down another level 1, I'll put out 10 level 1s if that's how long the fight is. But I will not upgrade it because, you know, we're losing so much damage because I'm just hammering my turret. So your idea, I think, is pretty brilliant here. Of course, the cooldown management, like you said, does it start when the turret dies, or is the cooldown just a lot longer? And then you can still repair the turret if you're trying to help it, but you're not focusing. That's not like your main focus. So I think it would help lower league players too. They'll be like, "Oh, my turret's already built. I need to shoot." Most players down there, they're like, "Oh, well, I'll build my turret. I don't need a gun. I got a hammer."
It certainly helped with the whole aspect of what Blizzard have said before about wanting to separate Torb from the turret and have them as two entities. But maybe then you make the turret a lot weaker and just have it as this, like a symmetric turret, just something that's sort of shooting you in the back a little bit that you can't really focus at this time.
You could have a little bit of a longer deploy time, like, you know, I don't know what's the deploy time right now, but you could maybe double that. But then it ends up being level 2. But at least you don't have to focus on it. You don't have to stay there. Because that's the thing too, is like, you're trying to build a turret, so not only do you not put damage out, but you're so vulnerable. You're just like, next to your turret, you're vulnerable to AoE, to sniper shots. Yeah, that's a cool idea. I could see that, because really the key words by Jeff was making Torbjorn more acceptable to his teammates, and not focusing on the turret, and the turret already contributing from the start could be huge.
What are the main ideas? Like, if you were to sort of put the top 5 ideas for like Torbjorn quality of life changes, because as you've said, not a good amount of these other than the Torbjorn jetpack dash, whatever you want to call it. I think that'd be good for like lore perspective. He has a little like thrusters in his back, so that'd be good to just sort of see them flare up as he jumps around. But regardless, like, what are the big ideas that you think people should really take away from this, and what should people expect to see? And then we'll go over like sort of closing thoughts, I suppose.
All right, full ammo when you use molten core like soldier. The right click being a lot tighter to help versus tanks. 2 ammo instead of 3, so just a little bit like me, you get more shots in. You get 6 shots instead of 5. Being able to upgrade a turret even though it's not full HP. And then if they want to keep that turret the way it is, and his head size going down, because it's so big. Like you can shoot the beard, and he takes a headshot. So.
Oh man. And that's pretty much like half of his body, to be fair. I'm looking at a picture of him right now. But just sort of finish on then, like, what are you hoping will change for Torbjorn if some of these changes went through? Do you expect these changes to be big, like the Sombra changes? Everybody's like, oh my god, we're going into like a Sombra meta. But I spoke to Fitzy, who I know you're good friends with, and like he was like, it's a give and take sort of situation. But closing thoughts, where do you want to see Torbjorn at the end of all of this rework stuff? And where can people find more Torbjorn gameplay from yourself on Twitch and YouTube or whatever you want to plug?
So it really depends what they want to do. I'd like him to be viable versus either spam or quad tank. Right now he's good versus flank in some situations. Like he's good versus dive in some situations, but if he could become good versus spam or versus quad tanks, then he'd be even more useful and be even more fun to play him. So whichever way they want to go, if they want to do something completely crazy and make him fresh and exciting to play again, I'd be down for that. If you want to see some more Torbjorn gameplay, head over to my YouTube. I don't play him too often on stream anymore, just because it's really hard. It's really hard, and the community is really negative about him. So I sort of took a step back because it was really toxic. But on my YouTube, I try to put the best Torb games that I have, and I answer the comments. So if you got Torbjorn question, even if the video is like 6 months old, I still check my comments.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. Do check out all of Desrow's stuff in the description below. And again, do let us know what ideas you like from Torbjorn, and also any you thought of yourself in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you next time.